And I want to welcome everybody today to the Chamber Leaders Mastermind Roundtable for actually October 2019. We have several folks here that we're going to chit chat with about last week's conversation with Tim Nichols. He was the author of a book called 3,000,000%. And before I go any further, although we do have our normal host here, Barbara Martinez, I'm sitting in for her today because she has her family. She and her family are not feeling quite so well, a little under the weather. So I'll take the hits today, and we'll see if we can cover what Tim was talking about. I know he had some great points, and I know probably he may have some points that some of you may find that may or may not work within your Chamber of Commerce. So if you haven't watched the last interview that we had with Tim Nichols, please take a look at it. I think you will find it fascinating. He is a very hardworking guy as far as working within the chambers and outside the chambers as well. Just as an overview of what he presented to us, his whole idea was really relationship marketing or relationship management, if you will. In order to get those relationships built, he emphasized making sure that when you met someone, that you found someone or something in common. Let's say you're in a networking group and you're talking to a specific individual, and hopefully you're not going around and just handing out cards, because that is, or trying to sell your business. That's the least effective way in order to network. But in his opinion, he said that when you're talking with someone, find that something, or someone is more important than something, but find that someone, person that you know, someone that you can relate to and chat about that in a way. Or find a something that you have in common. That might be a place that you like to visit. It might be just maybe play tennis or something. That's the something in common that you have in mind. In that way, as you talk, you're not quizzing each other about, well, necessarily how big is your family, you know, where's your family live, and start, as he put it, profiling the individual. Now, Tim was in the financial services business, so he sometimes found himself having to be very careful, not trying to profile them, because he didn't want to think that he was after them right then to invest their money with his financial services group. But so he took some precautions. But he actually grew up in the banking business. And just as a quick overview here, I think it's important, is that when he began his financial services business and ended up in a new town, not knowing anyone at all, having to start from scratch, literally. He didn't have any money under management, as they call it in the financial services business. He did know, though, that if he were to get inside and work with the Chamber of Commerce, and we call it working from the inside out, working inside of the chamber, that he could quickly get to know the folks that he needed to know for his business, but do it in a way that was less obtrusive. So he went in and he volunteered for a number of committees. He made sure that he was active in all those committees. He made sure that he was there at the various activities, whether it be a ribbon cutting or a luncheon, whatever the case might be. He was there, and oftentimes there as a volunteer. So he got to the advantage of helping out the chamber, but also making sure that he was seen and noticed. His visibility was high. So as far as growing relationships and how he went about it, I know we've got several people on here today. Any comments about what he said about how he grew his relationships? Anybody want to want to chime in here today?
Well, I think it's an individual thing. Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse for not being there. I mean, in my experience. And number two, I've learned over the years that I've been living and been in business that I need to spend more time working on me than I do on my business, because as an entrepreneur, I am the representative of my business. And basically, if I'm not a pleasure to be around and not friendly, why would anybody want to do business with me? So number one is showing up, and then number two is understanding that if I don't build relationships with other people, nothing is going to happen, because people do business with people that they are like. So learning how to communicate effectively with other people is extraordinarily difficult for me, because I'm basically an introvert and a hermit. But I found that that did not pay very well. So I had to learn over the years to be able to push myself to get out and to do the things and to live in the uncomfortable zone. Because again, I found that living in the comfort zone doesn't pay very well. So getting used to being uncomfortable, and I'll say this real quick and then be quiet for a little bit maybe. I went to a chamber ambassador meeting last night, and honestly, I didn't want to go. I wanted to watch television, but I didn't want to go, and I didn't want to mingle with those people. I didn't want to talk to them, but I got up and I drove down there, and I had a wonderful time. And I made some new friends and made some new connections. I've got a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock today as a result of that meeting last night, and I've got another meeting tomorrow at 11:30 as a result of the meeting last night. And again, there's just no excuse for not getting out there. If it's up to if it's gonna be, it's up to me. I've got to make the decision to get out of the comfort zone and read a good book. You know, Norman Vincent Peale uh, has got a great book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Well, read it. And
Scott, how do you translate that into bringing in new members or retaining members within the chamber? Since we're talking about the chamber itself and how to build a stronger chamber, how does what you're saying right there actually translate into
well,
being able to accomplish that?
well, I believe it all starts with having something worth attracting to other people. And people they like being told what to do. Number one, they act like they don't, but they do. They want to be led. So have a vision and bring other people into your vision, a common goal that you can accomplish together, and get everybody excited about it. And and have attract, not promote. If you get something going on, people notice it. And that's one of the great things that's going on right now in the Nightdale Chamber that I'm a member of, is we've got a small group of very excited people. And they, set a goal, a great goal, and went out and accomplished it together. And they're happy and excited. And you can feel that energy in the members of this chamber right now. And so the responsibility now of the leadership is to be able to set the next, task for all of us to be able to accomplish together as a team. And as long as, and I know it's corny, but together everyone achieves more. But it's the energy, the synergy of creating goals clearly defined, having a vision of where you want to go, and grab some people to help you get there, because I've never been able to accomplish anything in my life by myself. It's always been a team effort to be able to get anything accomplished worth doing. And to build a great chamber, I believe you've got to have a vision, and then you've got to find followers. Last thing, in order to be a great leader, the very first thing you got to do is be a great follower. And then the only thing that defines a leader is having followers. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's my 2 cents worth from my soapbox.
Okay, and do you think then within the Chamber of Commerce, do you think that the ambassadors are the sole responsible people in order to increase membership, or do you think it's the job of every member to be involved in that? What do you think, Barbara?
I think that for my chamber, it was very important to give the ambassadors a sense of being part of a hierarchy. They needed to feel a certain level of importance within the chamber, and that would motivate them to not only support your chamber, but also support their own business. So they become ambassadors because they want to meet people. And a lot of chambers pretty much want to use them as that resource, but neglect supporting them in their efforts to support their own business. I think there has to be a healthy balance between allowing your ambassador support your business, but also the chamber helping that ambassador with their business and making them just as important. So they're a member, but they're, I would say, a higher level member, because they're taking time and they're volunteering and they're coming to meetings and they're boots to the ground for you. They're making those contacts. They're bringing new members to you. I don't put that responsibility on them. It's great if they do, if they bring new members. I tell them all the time, don't feel like you have to sell the chamber. The chamber should sell itself. What we're doing and the value that we're providing should make it an easy connection for you to make. What the chamber should be doing for you is providing a warm intro, so that when you do go meet with these new members and you say that you are part of the chamber and as an ambassador and a liaison, that you're welcomed by the new member, because there's a level of respect that they'll have for an ambassador. So I don't necessarily assign them to go get new members. I really want them to help with the retention. I want them to help making connections, and I want them to help and feel like they're a part of it's beneficial in both ways, and they're an important part, a vital part of our chamber. They have their own landing page on our website, and when we have our breakfast or our networking events, I make sure I announce that they're there. And at every ribbon cutting, I make sure that they're in every picture. And wherever that we are, I make sure that I say very proudly, this is my ambassador, so-and-so. And I give them the title. And then, of course, I introduce their business.
Absolutely. I noticed, too, in Tim's chat with us last week, that one of the things he does also is that, or he stressed, was that you take someone that you've met or gotten to know better than most, and you actually then started to translate that. In other words, if that person had bagels to sell, then, and he knew somebody wanted to buy bagels, he made sure they made contact. So he was continually putting people in touch with each other, which every time he did, it raised his visibility, and I think it raised his credibility as well. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I think that is important for all the chamber members to do, and particularly the ambassadors. You're talking about, you want them to make the members feel warm and so forth, but yet the members are out there sometimes solo, and as you have mentioned several times, they are doing their business. They don't have time to come to the events or the networking events or the lunches or anything else, because they're busy running their business. But yet if someone were there that would make introductions for them, even to, if you want to go to the extreme, ask that person to go with them over to the store and introduce them to the store owner. That would be a little extreme, but still, that concept, I think, is a very, very deep concept, and it becomes a lifestyle. Though it's not just a one-time happening. That actually becomes a lifestyle. And if somebody in the Chamber of Commerce working from the inside out with the chamber were to adopt that, I think it would be tremendous for any of the members. It doesn't mean just one member does it. It means a number of members are doing that, and then you get the cohesiveness of the membership base. Am I off track there? In any way?
No, I think that's actually with our ambassadors, one of the first things that we did, and I'll just go back to how I view my ambassadors and made them a part of an important part of the chamber. So, you know, we meet together and they get to choose the members that they would like to meet, because they're still a business, and they'll go, they have exclusive view of all the new members. So for example, I have 20 new members. I meet together next week with my ambassadors. They get to look at the list and they get to pick and choose 2 or 3 that they are interested in meeting. And then we give them ambassador packets, and that's kind of like guides that says, you know, ask them for their Facebook, take a decal with you, go introduce yourself, bring our cards, ask them when they would like to do ribbon cutting, ask them what they're interested in, what is it out of the chamber, and they're equipped with what the membership benefits are, whether it's radio, Facebook Live, meeting the executive director, being part of a committee, speaking at a breakfast, speaking at a round table, what topics are important to them. So they're really kind of doing recon for me. They're doing the first step. And I have some ambassadors that are very gung-ho, that they follow my lead. So they see what I do. They see that I go to a store or a business owner and I give them their decal and I have them take a picture, and I take a picture and I tag them on it, and I make a big deal about them putting their decal on their door. So my ambassadors now are picking up on that, and they're doing the same thing. So the way when they identify a member, not necessarily one that's assigned to them, but if they identify a member that has a decal that maybe we haven't heard from for a while, they take it upon themselves to walk in, introduce themselves. They carry their card, they carry my card, and they talk to the member, and then they'll take a picture of the decal, and then they'll send me the information, or they'll call Lisa and say, I'm sitting here with so-and-so, and they would love Barb to come down and meet them. So really what they're doing is they're really doing recon for me, so that I know which we kind of identify which are the neediest of the members, right? Which members need immediate attention, and which members are kind of like, they're kind of busy right now, but they're going to get back to you. Those members, you know, you kind of have to keep trying to reach out to them, but they're not immediately looking for me to be all over them. There are some members that want attention right away. So the ambassadors are identifying who these members are. You know who they are because they're the ones that are either identified that they would like to get something started right away, or they're members that say something to the effect, well, I've been a part of the chamber and I never got anything out of it. Those are the red flags. Those are the ones that you say, okay, those are the ones that we need to pay attention to, because they're paying attention to us. They're waiting to see if we're going to do anything different than what they've experienced with a chamber. And your ambassadors, I think it's important that you give them these toolkits. I think it's important that you give them guidance. I think it's important that you give them some leeway. I think it's important that you include them in everything. When I send out an email about new members, that my ambassadors are included, and I say to them, this is what's going on. They're invited to every ribbon cutting. They're invited to every single event. They are invited to come, you know, if we can afford it, we try to comp them on things that we do, just so that they feel that they can come. But we also have to make sure we sit down with our ambassadors and ask them who they want to meet, who they think is important for them for their business. And it's just finding that balance of making sure that we're giving the ambassadors what they need so they can continue to be motivated to continue to support your chamber. I don't know. I'm sorry that was so long-winded.
No, that's good, because a chamber ambassador is first of all, it's an honor, but second of all, it carries obligations with it. Having been an ambassador at a chamber for goodness, almost 5 years at one time, I considered it an honor, but I also used it to my advantage, if you will, because when I walked into any business and wanted to chat with them, oftentimes I'd walk in and I'd say, I'd like to chat with you. I'm coming in on behalf of the chamber and like to chat with you about the chamber. I did recruiting for a year, as a matter of fact, and I did it all over the place, phone conversations and appointments and everything else. So recruiting, actually being a recruiter for a chamber for a year teaches you a whole lot, because you hear all the reasons that nobody wants to join. You hear all the reasons why they've already joined, quit, and won't come back.
Right.
And but you learn how to rebut those and respond to that. But I know that every chamber can't have a recruiter. Believe me, they got me cheap, really cheap. But every chamber can't have a recruiter, but it doesn't hurt sometimes. We actually in that year I actually brought on 120 new members to my Chamber of Commerce. So wow. The whole point of it is that they do have a responsibility, and if they're not upholding their responsibility, shame on them, because it is an honor to be an ambassador at any Chamber of Commerce. I remember on Tim, of course, talking about his book, the 3 million%, which relates to how much his business gained over the first year by working within the chamber. He also, in that book, had 5 different keys, he called them, and has developed a course based on those 5 keys. Now, that course actually teaches the people exactly how to do what he did in the Chamber of Commerce. For sake of just discussion, I'm going to bring Rick in here. Rick, are you listening to us today? I'm going to bring Rick in. What were your impressions of his having classes and courses on this? And of course, he did it for a while inside the chamber. Now, because he's doing it in somewhat with chamber members, kind of on the outskirts of the chamber. What's your opinion on his classwork and so forth?
Well, I think his approach, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think his approach is pretty novel in the sense that he was able to take his success and turn it around to train other members. And I don't believe it was strictly training ambassadors, but really training other members on the skill set that he used to successfully increase his business 1,000,000% or 3,000,000%. And I think that revolves around his ability to communicate with people. And it's a people business first. If you can develop a conversation and show interest to that individual or business that you're talking with, and don't immediately go into, hey, this is who I am, can I sell you something? But try to learn, what they do and how, from a symbiotic standpoint, each of you can work and help one another, and just be able to teach the members that the chamber is not there, just to showcase you without you doing anything. You've got to be a willing participant within the chamber to get the exposure, which is why it's there, why they have their meetings and their ribbon cuttings, in order for you to literally benefit as a business and grow from other chamber members participating and purchasing your goods and services.
I couldn't agree more. That the process of learning how to do that, though, most people move into a chamber, and I'm gonna let Barbara comment on this from after this. Most people who come into a Chamber of Commerce, their first thing is, well, I'm here with the group, and let's see what they do for me, and they have no clue that they actually need to participate. I had so many personal experiences with that. Although the new person would be in, I'd go back and see them 3 months later. They'd never seen them anywhere. I'd invite them to go with me, of course, to a session. But even that sometimes didn't work because they didn't see any reason to. They'd already joined, and they had the sticker on the window, and that was all that mattered as far as they were concerned. But those are also the members that did not renew because they had not been shown how to actually maximize their membership. And I think Tim Nichols, in a way, in his 5-step program, actually teaches someone how to maximize their membership or benefit from their membership so they will renew on a regular basis. So, Barbara, what do you think in those terms as far as what he was talking about?
I think that a lot of businesses join a chamber because they want the chamber to work for them. I don't think they realize that they also have to do their part. His
I got frozen up screen. Anyone else?
I'm good.
Yeah, it froze up for a minute. Go ahead, Barbara. Thank you.
I said sometimes these things.
We're having trouble with Barbara over there. Barbara, we're not able to hear you. When you come back on, we'll get right back into that same topic right now. I don't know, it's bouncing around. Must be the weather around in the process. The other thing that I noticed too in his conversation was, and this was, if anyone has a chance to catch up, 10, what is that? 10 what? See, Barbara's showing us some fingers on the program. I'm not going to say anything about those fingers, so we'll go ahead and move along.
Heavy weather in New York.
Right?
Heavy weather in New York.
Yeah, probably about the weather in New York. But he also mentioned that he liked to change his appearance. Barbara, are you back in? Can you hear me? Okay. He also talked about his changing basically your outside appearance so that you actually showed up visibly when you were out anywhere with the chamber or anywhere else. And of course, he has a unique personality. He certainly uses it to his advantage, without a doubt. What do you think about his technique there, Scott? What do you think about it?
I definitely think that he stands out. I think that visually, he's promoting himself or attracting others to himself in a very demonstrative way. I think when he was at the first time that I was introduced to him by you, I believe he was at a Bojangles or a Chick-fil-A, and people just were walking up to him because when they saw him, they thought he was somebody. And so he definitely is making a statement with the whole get up. I mean, I don't know exactly what to do. Only way I'm going to be able to pull that off, I guess, is if I buy a wig or something. I don't know what to do, but there's not much to work with here. But he definitely makes himself stand out from a visual standpoint, along with everything else. So I mean, I think he's got quite a marketing approach going there.
And if you noticed, in every one of our interviews, conversations, or otherwise, he still maintained that garb with his bow tie, a big brimmed hat, different color bow tie each time, but very identifiable from a block away.
Waxed mustache, the whole bit.
Oh yeah, even when we met with him on Zoom, and his wife was on the phone when we were preparing for some of the talks, there he was. He still had his hat, his bow tie, and his vest on. So he doesn't ever appear anywhere, I don't think, without that bow tie, vest, and hat on. Period. Mm-hmm. But that works for him.
It absolutely
and it
works.
Made a difference for him. I understand his point that you are invisible. If you're in the financial services business or the banking business and you're wearing a suit, you're wearing camouflage. You're just invisible. Plus, people run the other direction because they don't want you to try to sell them something in a suit and a tie. Mm-hmm. So somewhere along the way, there's a balance of some sort that I think people can come to. But I think people should look at the way they dress as it regards to their profession or what they want to accomplish out in public and around the Chamber of Commerce, of course. I don't care if it's wearing a certain kind of shirt, or maybe putting on a vest. That nobody else wears a vest anymore, or different color glasses. Maybe there's all kinds of ways to set yourself apart. But he did a good job on that.
There are a
Robert,
lot
are
of
you back again?
Are you there? There are a lot of businesses that are uncomfortable shining that kind of light on themselves. They don't. They really just want to run their business and not necessarily bring that kind of attention onto themselves. So they're great points, but it takes a certain personality. Look at Rick. It takes a certain personality to be able to pull something like that off. So, some people can say, hey, you know what, maybe I will try to stand out from the crowd, and that'll work. I mean, I know I certainly do it. I mean, I wear my 6-inch heels and I have my short boy haircut, and, I stand out simply because I am a Latino woman. But some businesses are not comfortable doing that. And you'll find, like even my assistant, she doesn't want to be in any of the pictures. She's just good in the background. So we have to find a way to have them be able to apply these key points without having to sacrifice their comfort level. So I think it's important to train them and say, these are the things that you could do to elevate, maybe not necessarily your personal profile, but the profile of your business. There's got to be something that makes your business stand out from other businesses. How do you make your business shine? If you're going to leverage networks, if you're not one that can go to networking events, maybe consider creating a networking event at your business. Is it possible to do something like that? Or maybe get a couple businesses together to put together a mixer, a networking event that will bring people near your area, maybe creating a village event. So there's definitely ways to add these key points that he's put together. I agree with all of them, but I think out of all of them, the establishing the community is, for me, this the beginning of it all. Establish that community with your ambassadors and with other businesses. Make them feel comfortable, make them feel welcomed, talk to them directly. Don't try to break down that barrier between your chamber and your members. Sometimes they don't think that they can speak to me directly because I'm the executive director, and I've shown them that they can. Talk to me whenever, reach out to me however, send me a text message. You're part of our team now. And now I'm going to help you, whether it's update your website or update your logo or fix your Facebook or give you some pointers. It's just taking these points that he put out there and using them and teaching our ambassadors to use them and show them to the other members.
And I agree that the identifier doesn't necessarily need to be your outfit. I mean, it could be a tagline. It could be your logo. It could be your website, or a combination of all of them. But again, whatever works for you is what you should be using. And me, I'm not going to use this t-shirt.
Oh, come on now, Rick. That looks really good on you. In fact, Barbara, just so you know, he was planning on wearing that to the gala.
You would have been underdressed.
Yeah, I hear you. But anyway,
creating community, yes, was a almost the core of everything I think he taught thereafter or mentioned thereafter. I know that since Barbara, since you're here, of course, I know that you've done exactly that. You've created a community because people want to be a part of the chamber, and it's almost organic, totally organic growth, which means that they do want to be a part of it. And as you mentioned before we started our recording today, that you had new members because you'd had the kind of a flow come in recently that you hadn't been able to recognize. And that in itself was also making them feel part of the community, and you're having to catch up on that. So you've done an excellent job with that as well. How else do you build community with your chamber, Barbara?
One of the great things that I can do, because we are a smaller chamber, I can really get personalized with each member. And that's a big role that the ambassador plays. But I look at their website, I look at their Facebook. I'll send them a message via Facebook and say, try to give them some pointers. If I see that their website isn't where I think it should be, I'll give them some pointers on that as well. But I get them excited about being on Facebook Live. And don't forget, you have radio. And when can I come over? I want to try whatever. I start the conversation. I think it needs to start from my office, where I start the conversation with our members, so that once they make their payment, or once they say they're joining and they make their payment, I'm hopefully acknowledging it right away. And I'm talking to them about what they're missing and why they joined, and what are they looking for in their chamber. And if I invite them to come to my office, or if not, I take a trip to go see them, and I put them on the calendar for me to visit with them. But for my chamber, I try to make it very personalized. And then, I top it off with sending them an awesome ambassador that I know they're going to fit beautifully with. And that ambassador, is going to, set up the ribbon cutting and the mixer or the event, or invite them to a breakfast. We invite them to breakfast for free. Come hang out with us. Come check it out. You're just continuously just building a relationship with every single member as best you can. And I know for larger chambers, it's hard, but larger chambers also have more people. So maybe, instead of having just dedicated one person as your membership coordinator, maybe have everybody.
Okay, well,
Barbara's having some
it
issues.
must be the weather for sure.
Yep, it's starting to get stormy here.
Scott, you have the Nightdale Chamber, which you have recently involved yourself with. You know basically some of the things that Goshen has done. You have heard a couple of times the Tim Nichols direction. You've certainly followed the things that we talk about in the Chamber Influencers group. How will you develop a plan to build community at Nightdale?
Well, I'm a big go-giver believer. So I believe in giving value first and seeing where I might be able to be helpful, and listening to the people that I make those requests from, and helping out where I can, instead of trying to make every single thing selfishly about me, and what products and services I believe that I could sell to them. I'm looking forward to just being able to see where I can fit in the community and be of help to others.
Okay, now
and I believe
that's on your side, and I'm talking about when you're since you're kind of getting inside the chamber. How can you help them develop community? That was my question, really. Not you personally, but how can you, from your knowledge, because your knowledge base is large as far as how to do a lot of these things. How can you then pass that on and help them develop that community that Barbara speaks of?
Well, again, I believe where there is no vision, the people perish. I don't think there's any. It's not really complicated. It doesn't take a degree in rocket Scientology to figure that out. So having a clear-cut vision, and then communicating that to everyone, and then having measurable steps of how to get there. And then as soon as a goal is accomplished, don't take too long in your basking of your glory to get what the next logical step needs to be. and recognizing that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and it's not over until the eternal dirt nap.
Guys, I hate to interrupt. I gotta split out 6 minutes early.
Okay, well, I think
I'll
we're
get the
we're
replay.
coming to the end anyway. We've Tim had a wonderful session with us, Tim Nichols, and again, as I said in the beginning, I encourage everyone to watch the interview last week, which is the first the third Tuesday in October this time. But we normally meet on the second and the fourth Tuesdays. The first Tuesday is an interview, such as we had with Tim Nichols. And the fourth Tuesday of the month, we have a roundtable like we've had here, where we do have an open discussion on the conversation that we had with our special guest the several weeks before. And I hope that you will go back through the library if you're just becoming a member here in the Chamber Leaders Mastermind. Go back through the library, because we've had some wonderful speakers. We've had some wonderful roundtable discussions, and I think you'll be able to learn from all of them. So until the second Tuesday in November, I will talk to you soon. And bye-bye to all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.